Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's Daf. Menachos Daf Yutes. We begin on Yud Ches Amud Beis, 3 lines off the bottom, back to the Machlokes regarding Yitzika and a Mincha. So we know that Belila is not Mi'akev, so if one skips the initial mix, it's not essential, it's not critical to the process, but the Yitzika, which is critical, so that's the third pouring of oil into this mincha mix, that is required, that is essential. The question is, who must do it? Is it only done by a kohen? That's Rav Shimon's shita, whereas the Rabbanan say even Yisrael, even the owner can do it. So that's the what. Now for the why. My time with the Rabbanan, why do Rabbanan say that even a Yisrael can do Yitzika or Makro? It's based on a pasuk. V'yatzak alei Shemen, so that's the Yitzika. V'nasan alei Levayna, and then he brings it to the Kohanim to take care of. Apparently, up until that point, it could be handled by Yisrael. V'viyah, b'nei ha'kohen, ha'kohanim. V'kamatz, and he performs the kmitza. We learn mikmitza ba'elach. From the moment of kmitza onward, that's specific to a kohen mitzvahs kahuna. But up until that point, even the Yitzika, Limeid al-Yitzika, Belila Shekshera, which can be done by a Bizarre. Rab Shimon, he responds that, take a look at that pasuk. It says, he brings it to the Kohanim. B'nei Aaron HaKohanim, that relates to both points. You see, the pasuk reads like this. Sheman, right? Lavoina brings it to the Kohanim, Vivia, right? And it says v'kamatz. So the term b'nei Aaron HaKohanim is sandwiched between the Yitzika, which is stated before, and the Kmitza, which is discussed afterwards. So according to Reb Shimon, this lashon, this phrase, relates to before and to after. It relates to the Kmitza, which is after, as well to the Yitzika, which is before. Reb Shimon b'nei Aaron HaKohanim, mikra, a pasuk nidrush lefanav v'la'achrav, can be applied to before and to after. To what is said before and to what is said afterwards. So the Yitzika has to be done by the Kohanim, and likewise, the Kmitza as well. Is that so that according to Reb Shimon, you take a pasuk in both directions? V'atani, we have a discussion regarding the halacha of the dam of the chatos. Must it be done with his right hand or even his left? V'lokach kohen midam chatos be'etzboi. V'nasan al karnois hamizbeach. The kohen does the kabbalah of the dam, of the blood of the chatos. Be'etzboi v'nasan, and he applies it to the corner of the mizbeach. Now, the term etzba, as we learned the other day, denotes specifically the kohen's right hand, the right finger, right? And according to Tanakama, this concept applies to what is said beforehand and to what is said afterwards. So the word be'etzboi relates back to v'lokach, indicating that the act of lokach, the kabbalah, requires the right hand, and likewise going forward. V'nasan al karnat hamizbeach, applying the blood on the mizbeach. Both activities require his right hand only. That's the Tanakama. And Rav Shimon will disagree. He'll say, no, only goes forward. It doesn't go backwards. Let's see. Be'etzboi v'lokach, this relates back to v'lokach. From Lamed we learn, the Kabbalah needs his right hand, and likewise it goes forward. Be'etzboi goes on v'nasan. Malamed, this teaches application on the mizbeach, also right hand only. That's Tanakama. Reb Shimon disagrees. Tanakama holds it goes in both directions. Amar Reb Shimon, no, never yad b'Kabbalah. Does it then say the hand, the etzba, back on the Kabbalah Saddam? It relates to what it says afterwards only, which is the application on the mizbeach. Only that requires his right hand. Hoil, and since it doesn't have yad b'Kabbalah, Kibbutz was small kosher. If he does Kabbalah with his left hand, it's kosher. Rabbi explained, what is this dispute based on? It's based on the question of do we apply the pasuk in a multi-directional way? Tanakama says yes, Rav Shimon says no. It's back to our question. Why, according to Rav Shimon, must the tzika involve only a kohen? I'll tell you the reason Rav Shimon, because in this pasuk it starts with the Yitzika, right? And it says, bring it to the Kohanim to do the Kmitza, ve'hevya, and he'll offer it to the Kohanim. Oh, you have a Vav there. Vav is a connector. Vav Moisif, Alin and Rishon, Vav connects to the previous halacha. So it says the Kmitza requires a Kohen, going back to the Yitzika, it also needs a Kohen. Through this connecting Vav. Really? V'saba, Rabbi Shimon, Vav Moisif, Alin and Rishon, Rabbi Shimon hold of this concept that a Vav connects and allows you to share the information. Al miyat, if that's the case, the chsiv, take a look at the shchita of an oila. It says v'shachad espana bakar. So somebody does the shchita, doesn't identify him. Is it a kohen? Is it not? And then it says, bring it to the kohanim for the right. The kohanim will take the dam and do the kabbalah. B'krivu b'nei arnat kohanim, which is actually speaking about the act of kabbalah. It's called ikrivu. Ikrivu is a lashon of carbon. Rabban says that by doing the Kabbalah and the Klisharas, they are actually transforming mundane blood into carbon blood, into holy blood. Okay, so it's the act of Kabbalah. Who does it? A Kohen only. As well as the activities going forward. And we learn, make Kabbalah ve'elach, only starting from Kabbalah forward, Mitzvah Kuna requires a Kohen. Melamed, we learn from Me'al Shchita, Shkshera B'zara, Shchita, by an owner. Hold it. But there's a Vav, a connector. Either Rav Shimon Vav Moisef Al Indian Rishon according to Rav Shimon, if the Vav is a connector, Shchita Chinami, here's what by Shchita as well. We should learn through the Vav by connecting it to the Kabbalah, which needs a Kohen, Bazar Tei Psula, so the Shchita with a Zar should be possible. Why doesn't Rav Shimon express that opinion regarding Shchita? Answers the Gemara over there. There's a special exemption, Shani Hasam. It's very different. The pasuk says that even a zor is okay. V'samach, and then it says v'shachat. So we connect the act of shchita to the act of smicha, leaning on the carbon, which is done by the owner. Ma smicha b'zar, ma shchita b'zar, just like the smicha can be done by an ordinary Jew, right? The owner, no matter who he is. Shchita as well does not require a kohen. So it's a special exception. It says the Gemara, well, if you're connecting one to the other, Ma smicha b'balam, av shchita b'balam. So just as smicha needs to be done by the owner only, perhaps, are you saying that shchita by the owner only? Well, no. Ha'olam says Amers, you can't insist on that because there's a kal v'chomer that undoes that. The zrika, which is the primary act of kapara that generates the atonement, doesn't need an owner to do, because of course zrika is done by a kohen, a random kohen. Certainly the shchita, which is the lav ikar kapar, which isn't the primary driver of the kapar, the koshkan, of course, would you agree, an owner is not required. Perhaps you say it's not really a fair equation, you're taking something which is not possible and comparing it to something which is possible. Ain't done in efshar, who's to say that you can derive the status of shchita and not require an owner based on Mishai Efsha from the Zrika, which we all know cannot be done by an owner. It's not really a fair equation. Okay, so that's really out. We'll find another indicator in a pasuk which allows a non-owner to do shchita, because we find on Yom Kippur, Gali Rachman Yom Kippur, Yom Kippur Torah indicates to us and reveals to us as sort of an exceptional situation that the Kohen Gadol must do shchita on his par, and only in that case, but not otherwise. Otherwise, you don't need an owner. V'shachat as parachat as asher loy. We learn from here the shchita of Alma, a general, typical shchita on a regular carbon, doesn't need the owner. Lebein and ban. Continues the Gemara. Amarav. So we indicated yesterday that although there are many activities, many steps to be taken regarding preparation of a mincha, but not all of them are critical. Now, how do we know throughout the carbon system what's considered essential, what's critical, what's just commendable? Amarav, here goes. Whenever we look at the psukim, when we find the term Torah, so it's Torah, right? And chukah, some sort of variation of the word chukah, chayik, chukas, that's telling you that that is critical. That act, that item discussed in that context is critical. Because how could that more figures, one or the other? You need both terms. The combination of Torah and Chukah to make it essential. Tarta be'inan. As we find in Parshas Paraduma, right? We all know Zois Chukas HaTorah. We have Chukah and we have Torah. Otherwise, it's not miyakev. Really, Nazir. Take a look at the Parsha of Nazir. We don't find Chukah. We only find Torah. It says Zois Torah as HaNazir. Rav himself tells us things are critical. Tnufa b'Nazir ma'akevet. The act of Tnufa is miyakev. Well, that's an exceptional case. Shani Hosam. Why? Keeping the chsiv, since it begins that parsha there. Ken Yasa. This is how he's meant to do it. This and only this way. Command the chsiv b'chuka dami. It's as though it says chuka, and it denotes that it's critical. Says the Gemara. Okay, what about the korban toida? Vari toida de like chsiv bei ala Torah. We only have the word Torah. Zois Torah azavach hashlamim, right? Imal toida, and we learn in the Mishnah later on that it's all critical. Utnan arba shabatoida, the 4 types of bread that accompany the toida are critical. They're critical to each other. You can't have one without the other. It's one indivisible package. Why? Answers the Gemara once again. Shani toida is different. Ishkas to nazir because it's connected to the nazir. T'chsiv al zevach toida shlamav. So we have toida, we have shlamav, and shlamav indicates the nazir's carbon. We learned the word shlamav, the Rabbi Shalmi Nazir, is covering the Shalmi Nazir. So we have that connection between the toida and the nazir, and just as by the nazir we just concluded things are mi'akiv, likewise by the toida. Next question: By the mitzvah, look sivbei ela Torah. Only have the word Torah. So it's Torah sa mitzvah. With Tanan we learn arba minish mitzvah. The 4 items that he's meant to bring, the block of wood, the grass, etc., they're all critical. Why? The answer is Shani Hasam. It's different. Given the chsiva, it says Tia Torah Samatzera. It says Tiyya. Tiyya means with absoluteness, non-negotiable. Kamad chsiva chukadami. That substitutes for the word chukah. Next question. There it doesn't say Torah, it only says chukah. It says the chukas olam. And we learn Shnei Siru Yom Kippurim, the 2 goats in Yom Kippur, they're critical. How do you accommodate that? Okay, says the more we have to relearn Rav's rule. Ella, you're right. It's not the combined Torah and Chukah that's required to make it critical. One or the other. Ella oy Torah oy Chukah. If it says either Torah or Chukah, we learn that it's mi'akev. Ask the Gemara of Arei, Shar Karbanos Sibu Torah. Look around by the other Karbanos. We do have the word Torah. There's a pasuk that covers all the karbanos. Zois ha-Torah, la'oila, v'la mincha, v'la chatas, v'la asham, etc., etc. Really mi'akev, we find that many halachas throughout the karbanos are not really mi'akev. How's that? Says the Gemara, you're right. We have to tweak it once again. The term Torah is not sufficient enough. It's not alone enough to tell you that it's mi'akev. Torah boya chukah. You need chukah in addition to Torah. V'chukah la boya Torah. When it says chukah, that's absoluteness. You don't need Torah to accompany it. But Rav said you need both. What do you mean? He meant to say like this. He went in order. He meant Torah is great, but it needs chukah. Whereas chukah does not need Torah. Even if it says Torah, it doesn't mean it's absolute. What does it depend on? If it says chukah along with it, yeah, v'loy, but otherwise not. Okay, says the Gemara, if chukah alone is enough to denote criticality, what about the carbon mincha? The chsiv chukah. Siva chukah, it says chayik. Chak yachlana, chaykoilam, they should eat it chak oilam. And nevertheless, we learn that many items can be skipped. Rav himself tells us, whenever we find throughout the mincha process that Torah repeats itself for emphasis, that's to tell you that it's critical of that item only. The items which were repeated, and yeah, those are critical, but otherwise not. Despite the term chukah. Says the Gemara, you know why there is different? Because that chukah doesn't really count, as far as we're concerned. Shani hosam the chsiva chukah, because where it says chukah is discussing the eating of the mincha. Achila chsiva, speaking about the consumption of the mincha, and not on the akrava. So we can't learn anything regarding ma'akev on the. Says the Gemara, what about lechem apanim the chsiva chukah? There as well, the lashon chukah is not speaking about the processing, the akrava. Achila chsiva is speaking about the consumption. And still we learn assumingly based on that things are miyakiv. We learn shnei sedorim, machem zeh, two arrangements, two rows of lechem aparam are critical. Shnei bazichen, machem zeh, the two spoons of mincha, of levoin are miyakiv. Hastarim v'abazichen, machem zeh, the breads and the bazichen are miyakiv each other. What do you mean? Yeah, it says chukah, but it's regarding eating, which we said is not denoting criticality. Elo, says the Gemara, you're right. Even though the chayk is discussed regarding eating, it spreads throughout the entire process. It relates to the entire thing, even the akrava. So back to the question, why not by mincha? Shani Hasa mincha is different than akra. The pasuk elsewhere emphasizes that certain elements of the mincha mi'akiv, indicating that otherwise it's not. Its flour, its required oil, those are critical, indicating that otherwise things other than that in a mincha not miyakiv, right? Geras v'shemen, those are miyakivin. But otherwise things are not miyakiv in a mincha, unless the Torah repeats itself, as we're going to learn in a second again. Gufa Meravis, so as Rabbi just told us. Throughout the mincha process, if we find that the Torah repeats itself, that's meant for emphasis. Shmuel says no. Only the geras v'shemen mi'akva, the flour, the oil, yeah. Vein the brach mi'akva, but otherwise not. Ask the Gemara, even if the Torah repeats itself? So what's the purpose of repetition, if not to emphasize the essentiality of it? L'shmuel avaga l'tana me'krala mi'akva. Do you mean even if the Torah repeats something, it's not mi'akiv? What mi'akva? You're right, of course it is, yes. Ella rather kalecha l'tana me'kra v'adei mi'akva. Of course, there's no discussion. When the Torah repeats itself, of course it's mi'akiv. So what then is the point of machlekes between Rav and Shmuel if they're both saying the same thing? There is one difference between the two. We're going to get a side point actually. The question is how to learn the psukim discussing the act of kmitza. Because one place we find the Torah describes the kmitza as malay kumtzah, a kaimitz fill, like a certain amount, so to speak. Elsewhere it says big kumtzah, using his actual scoop in a manual, personal way. The sign, as we find in the Bryce, it says Mloi Kumtzai, and then it says Big Kumtzai. What do these two Lashonis mean? The second pasuk is meant to emphasize Big Kumtzai. It has to be done manually. The kohen can't just make like a measure, a set measure which corresponds to the amount that fills his personal kohen. Of course, it's all personal, but perhaps he can just measure it up. It's 1.25 ounces. Okay, that's it. Now from now on, he doesn't have to do the kmitza. A pretty difficult task. I'm going to just scoop out with this container, which contains exactly 1.25 ounces, which corresponds to my kaimitz fill. Can he do that? No. Big kumtzai. That's Rav's opinion. Rav Sovar Hanami Tana Bekra. This concept that it has to be personally done every time, that too is repeated in the psukim to denote its criticality. Where is the repetition? We find by the Miluim when they inaugurated the Mishkan, he did it with his palm, he did it with his personally. So that repetition indicates that it's critical. Shmuel says no, there's no repetition in this case. Well, the pasuk by Miluim, that's a one-time event, doiros, something for generations. You can't derive it from a one-time event. Really? Shmuel does not compare generational to the one-time event. You don't learn one from the other. But now we have a Mishnah back in Menachos 19m where Shmuel's comment on the Mishnah indicates otherwise. Containers which are meant to handle liquids in the Beis Hamikdash, they can be mekadesh liquid content. And dry containers are meant to be mekadesh the yavish, and there's no crossover. You can't put dry into wet. When the dry, each one has its own specific function as mekadesh, only that type of content. Shmuel, there's an exception to the rule. Only by a measuring container for dry, that can't be used for liquids and be mekadesh. Aval mizrok is mekadesh, but if you have a container meant for blood, so it's not a measuring, that can be used for dry as well. The chsiv, as we find in the pasuk by the Miluim, in that one-time celebration, Shnei Meleim Selis. The two blood containers were filled with selis, with flowers. You see, it works. But I thought according to Shmuel, you can't compare all time to one time. Well, Shani Hasan there is different. Because this description is discussed over and over, 12 times over, with each nasi, to indicate that in fact, it's for all time. Amri le Rav Kahana, Ravasi le Rav. So the Amiroim asked Rav, you set down a rule that only with the Torah repeats itself does it denote criticality, right? Very Agasha. What about the act of Agasha, which is tapping the Kli with the Mincha to the corner of the Mizbeach? Tana Beikra, the Torah repeats itself regarding Hagasha. Well, in Ma'akvam, we find that it's not critical. How's that? How's that consistent with your rule? Says the Gemara, what do you find, this repetition? Man Tanabe, where do we find this repeated? Specifically, we find the pasuk which says, Zois Teres HaMincha, Hakrivayse b'nei Aram fnei Hashem. So this is the way you proceed with the Mincha. Hakrivayse means that you're going to, bring it over to the Mizbeach and tap it to the corner. And this is the second time that the pasuk speaks about the act of Agasha. So you think that's a repetition? No, that's needed for something else, to tell you, to identify for you the exact corner, that place where to put the mincha. To tell you where to do it. It's not a repetition. The sanya, because really, we seem to have some confusion regarding where to do the Hagasha. The Sanya. Because in this passage we find the term Lifnei Hashem, as we just mentioned, and the next three words are El Pnei HaMizbeach. Pnei HaMizbeach is the face, right, the front, which is where you go up the ramp. Right? So if you take a look at the Rashi, there's a little diagram here. So you'll see the Kadesh HaKadashim on top, that's coming down from Ma'arav down to Mizrach, followed by the Heichel, down to the Mizbeach. Mizbeach, if we look at it from right to left, it's going from Tzafon to Darim, with the Kevesh, which is the face, the front, is off to the left on the Darim, the south. So what do you do the Hagasha? Do Lifnei Hashem, as per the first part of the pasuk, which is the side of the Mizbeach facing Lifnei Hashem, which typically relates to the Shechina, the Heichel, to the west, to the Ma'arav. We do it El Pnei Mizbeach, alongside the face, which is the Darim. Different direction. So that's the dilemma the Brisa deals with. The Sanya. Here it says Lifnei Hashem, Yochel b'Marav, do you mean Marav of the Mizbeach? Al Pnei Mizbeach? No, the face. Okay, if so, then Al Pnei Mizbeach, Yochel b'Darim, do you mean on Darim's side? No. Lifnei Hashem has to be in the Marav side, facing the Heichel. Okay, how do you work this out? At the corner. Magisha, you do the Hagasha at the corner, B'Kerem Darim is Mizrachis, Darim is Ma'aravis, the Darim Ma'arav corner. Keneged Chuda Shel Keren, right at the corner, V'dayin, that's enough. In this way, you've fulfilled somewhat both psukim. It's a good compromise. You got the Darim, you got the Ma'arav, somewhat, and you're covered. So in any case, that's the point of this repetition, to give you the exact precise location. Now, the Brisa continues further. Actually, it's not so clear, meaning it's not universal. The Tanakama holds this is the best solution. Comes Rabbi Elazar and says, no, actually, I'll place it elsewhere. Rabbi Elazar Omer, you see, before we continue, we meant to know that according to Rabbi Elazar, the Mizbeach was positioned in a different location. According to the picture in Rashi, Mizbeach was off to the left of the Azorah, more to the Darim. According to Rabbi Elazar, Mizbeach was center right. So if you push it over to the right, with the Ma'arav Darim corner of the Mizbeach, so basically it started at the halfway point. If you run an imaginary line from Mizrach to Ma'arav down the middle of the Azorah, the Mizbeach was to the right of that line. It was on the north of the Azorah, to the right of the halfway mark. So it turns out that the corner, the Darim Ma'arav corner, was actually facing the Heichel. Not only that, if you stand in front of the Mizbeach, the Darim was also, if you look to your left, you're looking at the Heichel, the Kadesh HaKadashim. Therefore, says Rabbi Elazar, I'd rather you do it on the Darim. This is why you've done you've covered Pnei Mizbeach properly. It's not at the corner, which is sort of nishtahi nishtaher. You're on the Darim of the Mizbeach, the Pnei Mizbeach. But if you look to your left, you see the doorway of the Heichal. You're perfectly covered. You're perfectly Pnei Hashem. So that's why he prefers a different location. Rabbi Lezer Omer, look. Yochel Yigishan al Marav Shel Keren. The Darim Shel Keren. Perhaps you should do it both places, to the Marav, to the Darim. No. That's not a good solution. Amras, the answer is like this. We have two psukim which seem to sort of contradict. Is it west or is it Darim? Whenever you find an issue of two psukim which seem not to be working, in tandem, right? Seems, right? You have a choice. You can adopt Lifnei Hashem. You can adopt one pasuk which is al Pnei Mizbeach, which can accommodate itself, and also somewhat accommodate his colleague, the other pasuk of Pnei Hashem. That's one option. You have another option. You can fulfill the pasuk of Pnei Hashem, strictly Mara, and ignore Darim. So you'll fulfill one pasuk but totally negate the other. Which one should you do? Basically, I have the option of going totally with pasuk A and ignoring pasuk B, or accommodating pasuk B in a manner which partially accommodates pasuk A. Which is the better option? What did the Torah have in mind? The second option. I dropped the first option, which would entail fulfilling one and ignoring the other. I adopt the second option, where you're fulfilling one and accommodating the other as well. And he explained, if you adopt Pnei Hashem and do it strictly on the Marav side and ignore the face, you've ignored, negated the Pnei Mizbeach of Darim, because you're strictly on the west. On the other hand, if you're going to choose to fulfill the Pnei Mizbeach of Darim, you can still somewhat fulfill Marav. Pnei Hashem. Why? As we explained, because although I'm now facing the Mizbeach, I'm in the front and Darim, but since the Mizbeach was always shifted to the Tzafin, and I'm now in front of the door, in front of the entry of the Heichal, when I look to my left, so I'm considered Pnei Hashem. They had you fulfill it. Rav Ashi, as we explained, because according to him, the positioning allowed for it. Because Rav Lezer hold, Kulei Mizbeach B'Tzafin Kohen, Mizbeach was totally to the Tzafin, to the right of that divider line. So now I'm standing facing Mizbeach. When I look over my shoulder to my left, I see the Heichal, I see the Kosher. So therefore, it's a better option and considered a fulfillment of both requirements. Okay, we'll leave the rest for tomorrow, B'ez Hashem. We discussed Machlekes Tir Shimon Rabbanan regarding the Kohen by Yitzika. We explained what it's based on. We discussed that even a Zor can do Shchita, and it doesn't require the owner only. We discussed that only things where it says Chukah are Mi'akev, or where the Torah repeats itself to denote emphasis and criticality. All the best to you, and Atzlach.